Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, Episode 4. Last week, after a sudden boom in popularity, Reigen and Mob took a bunch of jobs that ended in Mob kind of contemplating the difference between human and spirit, something that will come into play big with this episode. Let's jump right on into the episode with what feels like almost like the cold open of like a horror themed Doctor Who episode, with like all of the camera angles like not let us see what actually is going on, as we see Dimple in some kind of psychic trouble. We don't get any details on that till a good chunk of the way through the episode though, so I'll come to that when we come to that. But then we cut to something completely different. Or not, as we eventually learn, but at first it seemed like it's something brand new. As Reigen and Mob's new job brings in all kinds of familiar faces, from episode 2's Shinra, whatever his last name was, something with a B, to the Spirit Tamer Claw member Matsuo from last season, who is now running a legal psychic business. So yeah, that's a thing. He does absolutely nothing this episode. He just gets utterly destroyed by Mogami, who I'll get into in a little bit. Also, we meet a couple of new faces, like, I think Todo is his name, who's the leader of the Psychic Association Shinra's a part of, who just gets utterly destroyed by Mogami once the shit hits the fan. But anyway, what starts as a simple exorcism job turns out to be much more complicated once Reigen goes in to talk to the daughter of the man who hired him, who is supposedly possessed, who is possessed, as we find out. But it leaves up in the air what's actually going on for a little while. You know, is the daughter possessed? The father only strapped her down to protect her, like the father says, or is the father possessed? And whatever evil spirit is possessing him made him strap the daughter down for some weird reason. Admittedly, looking back on it, it never quite makes sense that the father would be possessed, because if he were actually an evil spirit, why would he ever summon psychics? But you know what? All that mystery just flies out an exploding window when the daughter shows her true colors. There is still a little bit of suspicion on the dad at that point. There's the bit where, like, when all the psychics think that the dad is the bad guy, he sees all the psychics as the teddy bears that are around his daughter Minori's room. That never gets brought up again, because I think he's dead. He got impaled through the chest by Mogami. I think he's dead. Though who knows? Anime and impaling is always a tricky subject. But anyway, as Reigen and Mob are only, watching in horror at all this, Dimple pops up and mentions the name Mogami Keiji. And I have heard a little bit about Mogami Keiji, not like anything about him particularly, just that his arc is like really fucking good. As we jump into here, But anyway, Dimple tells us a little bit about Mogami, who was a very prominent psychic around 40 years ago, and who fought Dimple in the cold open. I told you we'd get back to that. And also, here's the thing: when Mogami is about to kill Dimple, Dimple promises that he'll never do anything bad again, and which is the exact same thing he told Mob in the present. And so I've been noting that that Dimple has gotten better as a better person than he was at the start of the series. Though with that promise, who knows? Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. I think definitely did not intend to during the LOL incident. But now maybe with time with the Kagayamas, he's become a better person. Or better spirit, I guess. But anyway, this is not Dimple's episode whatsoever. This is entirely Mogami and a little bit of Mob's episode. His spirit form is what's taking control of the daughter. So it started out as a normal case of the week episode, like the last couple episodes, has now blown us into the season's main arc. Probably. I don't know enough about the Mogami arc to know if it will last us all season. Don't tell me, by the way. I still imagine... I don't think Claw is going to be too big here, just because I don't see a lot of Claw being involved here. I don't know. They might, though. Who knows? We don't really know what Mogami's goals are. So him and Claw could be going for the same thing. Maybe he's somehow an assistant to the leader of Claw. Or maybe they're just two completely different not organizations, but Mogami is just completely separate from Claw, and we're going to deal with Mogami before we go back to the main plot of Claw. Or maybe the opening has just been teasing and Claw is not coming back. I doubt that though, because last season teased too much the eventual return of Claw and its leader to just completely toss Claw out the window. But yeah, we are full blown into at least the newest main full on story arc. And we get what might just be the most gruesome moment in the series to date, and what I think is the first death in the series, if the dad is actually dead. As Mogami in Minori's body kills her father, impales her father. And then goes on to just utterly wipe the floor with every other psychic in the room. Until Mob finally takes center stage and momentarily blasts Mogami out of Minori's body, but seeing like the pure immense like size of Mogami, who like covers the entire fucking wall, he just can't do anything against him, and he permanently bonds with Minori. I think now he has. Well, we saw Minori kind of appear after Mogami possessed Todo for a little while, and then after Mogami left Todo, Minori's body like popped up right behind him. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean. If they were already bonded or what, I don't know. I do not know. But that's not the important stuff. The important stuff is Mob's next plan is to go straight inside Minori's body, using the out-of-body experience from last week's Stalker villain to get at Mogami's spirit directly, instead of just fighting from the outside. And I'm a little concerned by just how ill-defined the out-of-body experience is. Like, it was fine when a one-off villain used it, you know, but it wasn't, even last week, I didn't think it important enough to bring up, but it was still kind of weird that all of a sudden this random creepy guy can, like, project his consciousness out. But I was fine taking that as something like that particular psychic could do, but, like, Mob has never shown any ability in this, it's never been mentioned before, so it's kind of a random thing to do. But I will say, once Dimple takes over Mob's body, we get that really well-animated, really short, though, fist fight between the Dimple-possessed Mob and the Mogami-possessed Minori. It's really short, but it's really cool. And it gives Mob the time he needs to get inside Minori's mind to confront Mogami himself. And in here, despite seemingly having the upper hand, Mob is completely destroyed by Mogami. And Mogami then goes on a rant about how negative emotions are far more powerful than positive emotions, and because he's had such an awful life, with like the poverty we saw in his flashback and the dying mother, he is much more powerful than Mob could ever be. And then he sends Mob to an alternate world where he has no powers. Cut to credits. So I'm imagining that claim where the negative versus positive emotions is going to be like the thematic thrust of the arc. I imagine given Mob Psycho being such a positive story for the most part, it's definitely going to choose the side of positive emotions rather than Mogami's just pure hatred. And I imagine that Mob will overcome his time as a powerless middle schooler and somehow come back and fight Mogami, hopefully with Teru, who is still missing after 4 episodes. I miss my son. I miss my mess of a son. But yeah, that's where we end. This episode was a lot. Plot-wise, we got through a lot. We met our new villain, and he crushed Mob and sent him to an alternate dimension. I will say it's a little light on the comedy, of course, because holy shit. And it's kind of light on the thematic resonance that, like, defines so much of the best parts of Season 1. It's just kind of not here. Which is fine, because the episode is primarily dedicated to setting up Mogami as an incredibly powerful Esper, and hopefully the rest of the arc will focus more on what the themes of this arc are, which, again, I'm imagining are positive versus negative emotions, and which one is just healthier. But yeah, we do see for the first time Mob truly outmatched. When he fought Claw, he was not outmatched, he was just kind of, like, out-deceived. By the guy who, like, shoved like a bad vision in his mind or something, right? It's been a while. But you know, with Mob in a parallel universe, our first, or maybe only arc of the season truly kicks off, as one gives us what I'm hoping will be, some incredible treatise on the power of positive emotions over negative ones. But you know what? Only time will tell. Next time we see Mob live out a boring life in an alternate world with what seems to be an evil Minori who might be Mogami watching over him. But yeah, that's all I have for this week's video. I hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!